Good morning, stitching friends. This is Cissy of Gentle Pursuit Designs. I have decided to do better at YouTube. My plan is to do at least once a month, and my format will be that I'll have an antique show and tell, and I'll show what I'm working on, and also I'll tell a sampler story. In my presentations, I never seem to have time to tell any of the stories of the girls who made my samplers, so I'm going to try to remedy that. Naturally, as soon as I started talking, I need to clear my throat, so I'll do the best I can. First of all, I wanted to show you something that I thought turned out very well. I have been doing ornaments for Just Cross Stitch magazine since, I think 2004. And so when they invited me to do another one last year, it was during the Advent season, and I go to Christ Methodist Church, which is such a wonderful, welcoming church. And the Advent wreath was so beautiful, I decided to feature the Advent candles. And this was my original plan. So the Advent candles are hope, peace, joy, love, and Christ. And they're lit once a week, and then the Christ candle is lit at Christmas time. So it was supposed to look like this. But you have just a certain amount of space on a chart. And so I thought, well, heck, it won't fit. So what will I do? I could do all of the letters in over one, which I didn't think would show up very well. So I just did the Christ candle, and I did it in a gold accentuate, and so it's very subtle, and there is a lot of glitteriness I don't know that will show up when I show you this. But that is the ornament, and I was very pleased with it. It's beautifully finished. I can finish, really, but Faye Rigsby does it so much better than I do. And so I sent this off to Faye, and didn't she do a lovely job? She put this material on the back and cording and a beautiful velvet bow, and she has a pearl-topped pin. So I thought it turned out very well. You know, in magazines, you can't really tell the size, but I wanted to show it to you. So it's about as big as my hand. It's a good sized ornament. I used Smyrna Cross for the berries, and I've outlined everything. It's primarily cross stitch though. There you go. And it just came out in the Just Cross Stitch ornament issue that's probably on the magazine racks now. So I wanted to show you that. What else? I'm heading to Scotland and England soon. Just a total dream to go there with stitching friends. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I will be flying out on September 19th. And we'll go to Edinburgh, and we'll be there with friends, and we'll do some touring, and then take the train down to Swindon for Nicola's Great British Sampler Weekend. She so kindly invited me to do a presentation and teach there, so I'm really looking forward to that. And she asked me, gosh, was it over a year ago, if I would release a sampler while I'm there. And she had a Scottish sampler in mind. And so Judy Tober Hall and Sharon Hufstetter collaborated and stitched this lovely, lovely model. Let me reach around here and get it. This is my Christina Mclen of Glasgow. January 1821 sampler. It's a beautiful sampler, primarily cross stitch. She has some double running and some Algerian eyelet in alphabets. There's just a tiny bit of over 1 in her name and the final verse. I love the verses she chose. So the first one is fear God and love your neighbor, and that's in 4-sided stitch. And then she has a Bible quote, but Jesus said, suffer the little children to come unto me and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. And the final one is one boy I have known, my dad, who was of Scottish descent and English, used to tell me this one. And it was, you know, it's really the golden rule. I'm sure you all know it too. And the way Christina has put it is do as you would be done by. Let me show you the model. Isn't that beautiful? I love the crowns down at the bottom. Just a magnificent Scottish sampler. Let me set it over here so I don't drop it. The booklet is ready. Let's see, here it is. Now, this will go up on my website on September 29th, if the force is with me. I have it all set in PDF and booklet formats, so I can release it while I'm there. It's a pretty big booklet. Now, I did it using a Ware silks. So let's see, what can I show you? I have put Christina's story in here. And also, I found it so interesting when I unframed the piece. I thought you might find it interesting too. So I have shown what I found when I unframed Christina, along with the booklet. That's what it looked like when I got inside. And of course the instructions show, let's see, where's a good page to show you? You know how I am. I always do step by step and full detail instructions with stitch graphs that are big so everyone can see them. And I like to show how the stitches fit together. I've even done a little double running chart here. So I hope that you will like Christina. Now, she'll be on my website, Gentle Pursuit Designs, in booklet and in PDF formats. So far, one shop reached out to me, Jean Lee at the Attic. So Jean will have plenty of the linens and silks by the time the sampler is released, and I'll advertise it to other shops. You know, I'm always happy to send my designs to shops. I'm not the best at advertising though, so I'll take care of that when I get back. And any booklets that are ordered in America, you know, I'll mail after I return on October 6th. But I thought you might like to see the antique Christina. Now, I unframed her because there's such a subtle color change from the front. I was matching silks and thought, you know, I'm just not sure if this is right or not. And so I decided to unframe her. Now, normally, if a sampler seems to be okay, I will leave it alone and not try to unframe it. But in this case, oh my gosh, the back was just so beautifully stitched. And I'll show it to you in a second. Joy Owens is a fabulous, fabulous framer. She is a friend, and I've worked with Joy for several years. I belong to the Carolina Sampler Guild, and when I lived down in the Charlotte area for 8 years, I was able to actually go to the meetings. I've belonged since 1998. Anyway, let me show you the front and the back of this antique. And keep in mind that Christina was 10 years old when she made this sampler. Okay, it's right here. I can lift it up without dropping it. That would be bad. I'm sorry, everywhere in my house there is a glare. But look, you can see me through the sampler, right? You can see right through it. And the reason is Christina's sampler was protected. And when I unframed it, there was an inner frame with a piece of fabric across it. Gosh, I should have gotten that out to show you. Oh well. But look at this. Joy framed it so the back could still show. I just hated to put it back in the dark. So Joy actually hung the sampler between plexiglass that doesn't touch it, so we can still see the back of the sampler. And look, 10 years old, and it's hard to see where she ended her threads. Is that amazing? Such a lovely sampler. And the crowns are quite unique. Now, as you know, if you have been to my lectures, one thing Scottish girls often did, they had crowns on the sampler with the initials of family members under them. Well, Christina put her family members above them. And I love these clues. I'm not going to tell you Christina's story today because it's in the booklet, but perhaps another time. So the booklet and the PDF will be available on my website September 29th, if all goes well. So, what else? I wanted to show you, and my goal was I'll show what I'm working on. Well, I can't because one of the things I'm working on is a surprise for a friend, and the other one is going to be my travel project. But I can show you this. Let's see if I can. The travel project is going to be a new teaching piece based on one of my Scottish samplers. And the Scottish sampler is just gorgeous. I'll show you that next time when hopefully I'll have the teaching piece to show. These are the colors. And I'm using Tabby Cat Bowtruckle linen, which is just beautiful. And I have some accentuate to go with it. And the teaching piece will have a little surprise that's going to be fun to do on it. So what I'm working on, I can't really show you, but I wanted to tell you, I want to show you some wonderful antique pieces. Many of them are Mauchline Ware. I'll read you a little bit about that. In the 1820s, Mauchline, Scotland, I hope I'm saying that right, I'll know better after a time in Scotland, it got an industry, and it was started around 1825 by two men who lived there, William and Andrew Smith. They set up a factory to make snuff boxes, and out of that grew an industry which was to dominate the market for wooden souvenirs during most of the Victorian era. They diversified because snuff boxes, eventually lost some popularity. But what they made was wonderful. There were little souvenirs that they created, endless variety, and I have some that I'll show you. The greatest success, let's see, was a production of knickknacks, almost all of them useful as well as decorative, embellished with transferred engravings of scenes in or around the area that they lived in Mauchline, Scotland. Let's see, their father was a mason, a builder, and the brothers actually followed that trade. They were bachelors when they started running a hewn stone factory at Milton Mill near the hamlet of Stair in the north bank of the River Aire. So it's possible that they started as box makers, so they would have boxes to put the stones in. But, we're not sure about that. But let's see, Andrew's own account said that their inspiration was the invention of a variation of the pantograph, so prints and pictures could be reduced to the size of a snuff box lid. Now, they continued that for generations and making these things, and let me show you a few of them. I started looking and I decided I wanted to show you things that open. And as I did that, I thought, well, let me get out some of these little pieces to show. So here is one, a tiny thread winder, and you can see the transfer Ware picture there. Let's see if it's so small. Can't read it, it's too little. I should have looked under a magnifying glass before I started, but I didn't. But that's a little thread winder, and look at that, it's just lovely. And you can see where it used to have thread on it. I bought many antiques from Elegant Arts, elegantarts.com. Carolyn has her own website, and she's also often on Etsy. And this is one of the recent things I purchased from Carolyn at elegantarts.com. And look at this. Oh my gosh. So this is a tiny needle case, and let's see if I can show you. Okay. It has a little hole there, and you actually dial the hole. You dial the top to the size of needle that you want, and the needles are down in here. Let's see, I have it to 0 now. Let's see if I can unscrew it so you can see. Okay, here we go, how it works. So I'm unscrewing the top. So see, the needles are in there. And then, let's see if I can get it back together. You simply dial to the number, dial the top around, and you move the little hole so the needle will pop out, and you'll get the right size needle that you need. Isn't that precious? Now this is, what is it? It's a rolling pin. It reminds me of my favorite rolling pin, which is a vintage piece that I use for when I'm making cinnamon raisin bread. Well, here's a larger one, Now this one, I put a ribbon on it at some point. Let me take that off. This one is much bigger, and when you open it, I don't know if anything's in here or not. Oh, there's a little thimble inside, but you could put all of your threads in there. It would be just a beautiful piece. There's a thimble inside, and this one goes together like this. So that, and this, I've had this Mauchline Ware box forever. Isn't it beautiful? And look, it has some tartanware around it. So this is a bank. You can see that transferware on the top. So you put money in, and I thought, okay, so you put your money in, but how do you get it out? Well, look at the bottom. If I can push the right spot. Look, isn't that clever? So you can rob your piggy bank without breaking anything. So this is just a lovely little bank with Mauchline Ware transfer on top. And what else do I have? Oh, here's another one. And I got this open. You would put your little ball in here, and look, oh my gosh, I think it's the first time this has ever been opened. It's brand new inside, and it says that it's for J.P. Coates crochet cotton. And it looks brand new in there. Just lovely. Let me push it back together. It has a hanging string. So you would put your cotton ball in there and crochet away. You could hang this up and your thread would come out and it wouldn't go rolling across the floor. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, what else did I get? I was thinking of things that open. And here's a little acorn, and look. It opens, and inside is a little thimble. So that's another little piece that I found. I have some more, but they're tucked away, and so I didn't get them out. But these were just some I had around. And look at this. Oh my gosh. This says Holyrood Palace. I hope to go there. Look. So there's another piece of transferware, and it's a little cradle. Isn't that lovely? Now, what would you use this for? I guess you could put sewing spools in there and use it that way. I have no idea what it was used for, but I do love it. Now, things that open, here's one more, and I bought this from Carolyn. She has absolutely exquisite pieces. So this is it. It's leather. But what is it? Let's see. I can open it without dropping everything out. Is always a challenge. Okay, look. It's a little sewing etui. Is that lovely? Oops. Looks like the awl is trying to sneak out. That's dangerous looking. Has a little needle case, a thread winder, scissors. I'm not sure what you would use this for. It looks dangerous. Maybe to cut your threads. I think that would work. You have a laying tool. So, beautiful, beautiful piece, again, from Carolyn of Elegant Arts. I'll wait to put that back when I'm not liable to ruin it. Okay, so there's some little antiques. I do love the small things, and I often use the shape of these sewing accessories, particularly when I'm designing smalls. So, I've shown you my ornament, some threads that I'm working on, a new project, some antiques. Let me show you. Let's see. Oh, I haven't advertised this very well, but this is also a new booklet. It came out last month, and it's in PDF and booklet formats, and I've included a picture of the antique. This is Emily Tufton, 1865. Emily grew up in Bath, England, where Jane Austen lived. As a matter of fact, Emily's parents were married in the same church as Jane Austen's parents were, I think 110 years before. So it's a beautiful sampler, and the model was stitched by Monica McCalla. And I have been able to tell Emily's story inside the booklet and the PDF. And I included a picture of the antique and the shadow sampler that I found when I unframed it. It is the most beautiful shadow sampler I have personally ever seen. So I wanted to be sure and include that for you. Let's see. Emily's story was not jolly necessarily. She had some true challenges in her life. And I'm so blessed that I was able to find out a great deal about Emily's life. And not only that, I was able to track her 5 daughters and find out so much more about 2 or 3 of them that I have included in this booklet. It's a charming sampler, and it has a Christmas verse, which is so unusual. There are 4 verses, and the one on Christmas is in red, and that is over 1, and Emily's name is over 1, but everything else is cross-stitch over 2. Okay, sorry about that alarm. I'm going to pick up my little grandson soon. So, one more thing I wanted to show you. Okay, I said I would do a sampler story, and I was trying to think which one. And I wanted to show you Agnes Johnston and tell her story. Hang on a second, let me pick it up. It's kind of heavy. It's a Scottish sampler. Oof. As you can tell, because there is a twisted stem reverse floral band, also called the arcaded band. And you'll see family initials, and these are illuminated. There's a great big thistle. There is the 5-flower arrangement in the double-handled vase. Look at that fence and gate. I'll show you the sampler again at the end. There are fir trees, which are the most common Scottish identification motif I see in samplers. I wish you could see this sampler in person. Stop by if you're in near Summerfield, North Carolina. It is so beautiful. It's actually luminous. Okay, so let me tell you her story, and then I'll show you the sampler again. This is kind of funny. So research is hit and miss. I bought Agnes in 2019, and of course I got busy trying to find her, and I totally struck out. And so I have a research partner or two, and I sent off to Leslie Durst, and oh my gosh, I hope that you will go to antiquesamplers.org, because you're going to see so many beautiful samplers there, including others with this same gate and fence. So, struck out, and my friend, my research partner, Leslie, couldn't find her either. But then, and this is hilarious, Leslie found some information a few years later, and this is crazy. So I love Whitney Antiques. Actually, I bought that sampler from Whitney, and after looking for Agnes for years, I bought some booklets from Whitney, and guess what? So I purchased this booklet in November 2022, and guess who is featured in Embroidered Lives and Family Threads, 3 Centuries of Historic Samplers? There was Agnes Johnston with some aspects of her story. So they have written a very fine Scottish house sampler worked by Agnes Johnston in 1831. Worked in a wide variety of stitches, including cross, double running, herringbone, and couching with herringbone in colored silks on a fine linen ground. The sampler incorporates several motifs typical to Scottish samplers, including the thistles on each side of the central verse, the open-tailed peacocks, and the pairs of birds in the fountains situated in the bottom corners of the sampler are also often found on Scottish samplers. The sampler is exceptionally like a sampler worked by Lilias Simpson, aged 10 years, dated 1832. And I have to say, when I sent the picture of Agnes to Leslie, she immediately sent me back the picture of Lilias Simpson and said, I bet you thought this was the same picture, because they are so similar. They obviously attended the same school. So, the 2 samplers are laid out in the same format with the same house at their center, with the inclusion of the side wings. The samplers share the same verse and border and are worked in a very close choice of colored silks. The distinctive fence and gate to the front of the houses on both samplers is yet another common feature, and strongly suggests that the samplers were worked under the same instruction. The families of both Lilias and Agnes can be traced to villages with a proximity to Falkirk in Stirlingshire. Interestingly, 4 further samplers worked between 1808 and 1813 include a similar house with the same fence, and the gate can also be traced to the same proximity of Falkirk. AntiqueSamplers.org has a collection of samplers made in the Stirlingshire area, and they are called the Stirling Fence and Gate Samplers. It's such a joy to be able to find samplers that easily can be identified as being worked in the same school. I can just imagine Lilias and Agnes seated, and it's time for them to make their samplers, and they walk up to the front and get to select their colors, and they have a choice of motifs, and they use so many of the same ones. So, a little bit about Agnes. She was born in Muiravanside, Stirlingshire, to John Johnston and Agnes Brooke. Remember that Scottish women during this time period kept their family last name. She was baptized the 20th of August, 1819. The 1851 census lists Agnes as living with her elderly father at Muirhead Cottage. She is listed as a housekeeper. Her mother does not appear in the 1851 census, suggesting that she has passed away by that time, and Agnes is keeping house for her father. So let's see. I looked further into this, and the 1841 census shows that Agnes is 20, and she was working as a female servant for William Marshall, 35, and his sons, James, who was 13, and William, who was 5. Now, again, the 1851 census shows she's 31 at Muirhead Cottage in Stirlingshire with her 74-year-old father. Now, her father's occupation, I found, was listed as a manager of coal mines, and Agnes is his housekeeper. So, I could not find an 1861 or 71 census for Agnes or her father, but in 1881, Agnes is 61, and she is living with her nephew, John Johnston. John is a grocer, and his sister, a servant, and 2 guests are also living in the same home in 1881. Now in 1891, Agnes is 71. She is still living with her nephew, John Johnston, in Springbank Cottage in the same location. Now she is listed as living on private means. John's sister Mary is still with them, along with the very same servant who had been with them 10 years earlier, Margaret Fernie. And there are 3 visitors, and one of them is a dentist. George Francis Scott was also with them 10 years before on the 1881 census. I'll have to look further into that. Well, Agnes passed away October 28, 1898. She was 79 years old, and looking at the information in Ancestry.com, it looked to me, from what I could tell, the cause of death appeared to be cardiac issues and bronchitis. Her nephew, John Johnston, was with her when she died. So I'll show you the sampler again. It just is a wonderful, wonderful thing to be able to find the girls who made the samplers in my collection. And I'm honored to be custodian for these samplers that meant so much to these girls. Let me show you Agnes again. Woof, it's a heavy original frame. I can't find a way to show you. There, that's a little better. I have to have light, but then it reflects on everything. Anyway, this is a beautiful sampler from Whitney Antiques, full of Scottish motifs, and so like Lilius Simpson sampler. Leslie told me that Lilius's father was a sailor, so Agnes's father managed a coal mine. It's so interesting to do the research and then go out on the internet and look up the Stirlingshire area and see the types of occupations that were available back then. So I think that's everything that I had to tell you. I hope that you've enjoyed seeing these beautiful little antiques. And again, Christina will be available September 29th when I'm in England. I'll be releasing that sampler. So thank you so much for spending your time with me, and hopefully I'll be back next month. Bye-bye.